For the better part of a year, my little room has been a mess. Spare parts and hardware all over, the walls are too light, and the vibe doesn't feel creative. Thanks to your support, I was able to buy some paint and change it up. Let's see what else I can do to make it nicer for my venture into live streaming and talk about other crap. I like painting, whether it be painting a room, a canvas, or even a car. There's something about it that always makes me feel present and clears my head since I'm still fighting the funk a little bit. I do miss painting on canvas. If you follow the channel and watch the field of view video, I made a correlation between art and how we perceive what we see on monitors. Outside of working in racing for so long, I've always been into art and engineering. Actually, I am formally educated in both, but I chose to quit when I got a job at a local speed shop back in the 90s because it was fun and I loved it. As I grew up, I always gravitated towards older people. Even though later in life I learned we never have everything figured out, I could tell they had something I didn't, something that always happens with time, and that is experience and wisdom. I was lucky enough to learn from some very innovative people who took the time to pass their knowledge and wisdom on to me. Now that I am the older guy, I pass some of that on through this channel, which is what I'm thinking about while I work on the room. But that is a problem. I don't want to think about it. I always do better by just doing, so I'm going to keep at it that way. This little therapy project is a creative outlet for me. Too much thought leads to second guessing. Too much second guessing leads to overwhelm. Then too much overwhelm leads to getting stuck. I have to move forward, and it starts with resetting this room. Then I can get back to work on the next point of view video that many are waiting for, and I'm not slacking off or avoiding it. The progress is there, but I found some discrepancies during camera studies that threw things off, and they're starting to get a little bit too complicated. It will take a little time to break it down in simple format for publishing and then make it as short as possible, but I'm getting there. I work on it every day, and I will keep everyone posted, so let's get back to the room. My wife has a good eye. Without knowing this is one of my favorite cars, she got me this vintage cutaway of the GT40 from the 60s for Christmas a few years ago. I also grew up on drag racing, hot rods, and I always had a thing for 60s show cars. My favorite is called Uncertainty. It was built by Steve Scott in California in the 60s. Once again, my wife surprised me by contacting him. He was kind enough to print 4 original pictures from a magazine shoot and sign them. The car actually disappeared for decades and was found last year in California sitting in a warehouse. The new owners took it around the country and even brought it to Autorama in my state, but I wasn't able to make it down there to see it before restoration. I scored this old photo from Detroit Dragway, which isn't there anymore, for $10. I wish it was, though. When I said I worked with innovative people, some of them were the inventors of altered wheelbase cars named by the public like funny cars due to their looks. They made their first passes at this track, and the classic cars led way to the modern funny car as we know it now. With the pictures up, I can slide this heavy bastard back into place. If you wonder how, I keep the rig on plastic furniture sliders so I can move it around when I need to. I highly recommend them. Once I get caught up on videos, I need to change the right side. The closeout works, but I'm not happy with it, and we know how everything evolves. I also need to manage cables a bit better. Now I have to get resourceful and do some scrounging to finish the room. Disposable income is scarce, and I don't have the money to buy cheap gear. After spending the money I made selling my last car to build the rig, I chose gear I don't have to worry about. Anything else I purchase takes some time to save up the money, but we do what we do. I need a place to put my 3D printer. Luckily, my wife had this adjustable desk from her old office I can use as a workbench that fits over a cabinet from an old desk I had. Bonus. It's just wide enough to fit, and I'm excited to get back to printing. I chose the Ender 5 Plus for the bed size, and I want to design some bigger pieces. I got this nightstand from an ex-girlfriend. I'll add some old stuff to battle any bad ex-girlfriend vibes. If you haven't noticed, I like old stuff. Technology is cool, but I like history and the feeling of old crap. It keeps me grounded for some reason, and I feel, if you know history, it lets you know where you came from. 1940s German wind-up car near mint. A pic from our wedding. Fun fact, when we got home that night, I collapsed, and then we ended up in the hospital. Yes, our wedding night in the hospital because of my panic disorder. A lesser woman would have been mad, but not her. She's an angel. A pic of my girls I had for 19 years. They were sisters, and I miss them dearly. Another fun fact, when I went through a divorce, one of them was so bonded to me she lost hair over it. Then once we were safe, it grew back, and we were fine. This would be a pic of my dad, but I can't do it yet, so I used this Cadillac he gave me as a placeholder. A 1930s toy with original tires, but somebody stripped the paint off, bummer. Then a couple Matchbox cars and a motorcycle from when I was a kid. I don't have too many things from my youth. I lost a lot of them a while ago, and it bugs me, especially pictures of all the cars I built over the years. Then I'll put this United States Rubber Company stamp out there to finish it. I have more stuff, but that's all the room I have. Then remember when I said canvas. Here's a piece called Fry Scraper I did a few years ago. Perspective and geometric line work are my specialty. To date, I have around 150 paintings. I had a show, and since then I did sell a few pieces, around, but I haven't been inspired to paint really, and it's expensive. And now we were getting there, but I need something for storage. Luckily, we had this old IKEA piece sitting around, and in a stroke of luck, I had some old couch legs with matching threads. I can't beat it, for just about free. Someone did drill a hole in it, but I can cover it up, and now I have room for speakers and a receiver to put a little bumps in my trunk. I swear I've had these for almost 30 years, and they sound better than anything newer I've ever had. Then once I hook up the sub, I have good sound, and a cabinet to store tools and hardware next to nothing. Hell yeah. I'll snag this little car from the nightstand, cover up the hole. Then I'll use this little bathroom shelf that was in the house when we bought it to store some stuff on. I wanted to put the printer in another room, but I'm afraid the cats will mess with it, and here it is. I don't mind, and I always find comfort putting things into their final places when setting up workspaces. It's a nice feeling. Now we can clean up and get a feel for how it feels. Not too bad for some hand-me-down furniture. Except the rig, it bugs me. Right now it's dusty and dirty, and I need to rebuild things after moving the wheelbase and monitors up. I have a plan that I'm excited for, but point of view video first. It's also a little too big, and I want to condense it a bit, especially for P-Car. Once again, things evolve. A lot of people ask about my canopy. The structure is 2020 profile mounted with SimLab DD1 brackets I had laying around. The panels are 1/8 inch matte artboard, then I cover them in Alcantara so I could form them to the side of the monitors. All in, it was around $50, and by far one of the best things you can do for a triple rig. The sound of speed thing is actually that. It's an old record of cars going fast and has nothing to do with why I go by sense of speed, another gift from my wife. Now I can plug everything in and get back to work. Not bad for $40 worth of materials, a couple days work, and a little head clearing time. I'll put this plaque I made when I was 10 with a wood burner in place of the wind-up car, and the room feels good. I love the color, and I'm organized. Every time I jump in this rig, I'm amazed at the technology we can have in our home, especially being a little old school like I am. When I can, I've been learning AutoCAD, designing parts, and I can work inside now during the winter instead of waiting for warm weather and cutting wood in the driveway. I still need a few things for streaming, but I'll get there when I get the money. After a little over a year working on the channel, we hit 3,700 subscribers, which is crazy. Making friends. Some people even ask me for coaching, and people get value from my work. Pretty awesome. But more importantly, when I sit down in this thing, a transformation happens. When I load a track, start this fake race car, hit this fake throttle, and drive these pixels, I feel like me.